Hello one and all. If you're watching this video on Sanctuary of Geeks, then please subscribe and embrace the geek within. And for those of you that aren't watching on Sanctuary Geeks, hello Facebook, hello Instagram, and anywhere else that I've managed to upload this video. For those that can probably tell, this is a new thing for me. I've never really done a video like anything like this before. Those that know me quite well, they know that I have dyspraxia, learning difficulty, so I will stumble over my words. I may be a little jump from bit to bit, but hopefully you can keep up with me and generally understand what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, so for those that you have read the title, this video is Marvel versus DC. Those that know me quite well know that I'm heavily into my Marvel comics, whether it be all the movies or Marvel, just Marvel in general. Um, I do cosplay, so I'm known as Spider Grim cosplay. I do Spider-Man, my own version of Spider-Man. Videos on Facebook and Instagram. Can look up those pictures and enjoy them. Hopefully, I also do Wolverine. What I like to call a more comic book accurate Wolverine, one that hasn't really been seen much at conventions. And so let's get to it. Right. So Marvel versus DC. Um, I I generally think, at least when it comes to comic books, that Marvel is the superior brand. I find their characters more relatable, easier to connect with. That is just my opinion. Um, Feel free to comment to the video and let me know. Do you agree with me or not? Um, do you think another independent like 2000 AD or Judge Dredd or something like that is better than Marvel and DC? By all means, comment. Um, DC, although I will admit they do good villains, such as the Batman villains, such as Joker, Penguin, Two Face, they seem to do quite well there. But it's for me, it's they always, for some weird reason, fall short. Um, TV wise, I have to hand it to DC over the years, whether it's been the Adam West's Batman series that was generally a lot of reruns over here, or the Arrowverse with Flash, Arrow, Supergirl. Even when they did Smallville, DC seems to be ahead of the league and seems to do quite well over here, TV wise. Movie wise, majority I think that Marvel is better. I I enjoyed the X Men movies that were done under Fox. Obviously, I enjoy the MCU with the Marvel movies, and I think what there's like 20, 22 movies or something like that now. I know that is one amazing movie marathon that you'll ever do. DC movie wise, they seem to struggle. They're okay with your solo films, so like Wonder Woman, fantastic. Man of Steel, I quite enjoyed with Superman, uh, and as my brother could probably tell you, I thought Man of Steel was very good. At the time, I thought it was better than some of the Marvel stuff that had been done, and I thought maybe this is DC's chance to show fans that look, we can do good movies as well. But when it comes to their team stuff, like the big movies, like for Marvel, you had Avengers, amazing, absolutely brilliant. Age of Ultron, brilliant. Guardians of the Galaxy, again, the team, brilliant. But DC seemed to fall short. I don't know why. Maybe it's because when they did the first iteration of the Justice League in, I think it was 2016, they didn't do too well. Maybe that was due to the fact that they had two different directors at the time. Sadly, Zack Snyder had to pull out due to, I think, family bereavement, which sucks. And some weird reason, Warner Brothers DC decided to bring in Josh Whedon. Who knows? I know some people do like that film. I know the recently the Zack Snyder cut has been released, which is 4 hours, which is a long ass film. I've watched it myself. It was very good, and I think, although not as good as the Marvel films, like Avengers and stuff, for me personally, I think that they did a good job, and hopefully that will be like the team movie. The Justice League will be the shooting off point for more DC films and stuff like that. Maybe we'll get a Wonder Woman 3, Aquaman 2, something like that, or when The Flash comes out. Okay, so I started reading comics when I was probably around about 5 or 6. I started off with the X-Men. My uncle, who was a comic reader himself, collector, gave me an issue to read. I've been hooked ever since. I did get a chance to read like stuff like 2000 AD, Judge Dredd, stuff that wasn't Marvel or DC, and I did quite enjoy it. It was a bit above me at that age because it's a lot more violent, a lot more. Um, Probably not suitable for a 5, 6 year old kid to read. Did read a little bit of DC, but generally I preferred the Marvel stuff. And then years later, as the years got on, I always request to my parents, um, I want comic books, preferably Marvel, but I will literally take anything. And I think my mom got me an issue of Spider-Man, and I've literally been hooked ever since. It has been my go-to series of comics, whether I'm sad, depressed, angry. Generally makes me feel good again. Generally makes me happy. Um, so I was happy during probably my teenage years to read Marvel versus DC. For years, fans have been stating, "Oh, Marvel's better" or DC's better, and then Marvel and DC actually got their act together and did a comic series and a spin-off comic series, Amalgam uh, Comics. For those that don't know what that is Marvel and DC characters merged together. We had, for an example, you had a Batman and a Wolverine combination, which was Darkclaw, and that was very good, very entertaining to read, very enjoyable. But yeah, back to Marvel versus DC. Now, from what I understand, I think mainly in the US, you could write in. There was like a poll on who you could win. Superman versus the Hulk. For me, generally, I would have thought the Hulk would have won, but Superman won. You had Green Lantern versus Silver Surfer, Spider-Man versus Superboy. It was good, definitely a good read, and I would recommend it for any young readers out there that are looking to get into comic books. It's perfect jumping off point. Um, I recently have been reading quite a lot of DC comics, trying to get more into it. I'd probably have to say the Batman is still my favourite. For those that know me, they know that I'm not a big Superman fan at all. I do read his comics. I do get some enjoyment out of them, but I gotta say the guy is overpowered, way overpowered, ridiculous, and is held to such a high stature. I mean, fair enough if you get that, if you enjoy those comics, but Superman's not my guy. I generally prefer the characters in the Superman family, as it were, in the background. So, Supergirl, the Man of Steel, who's his name is John Irons or something like that. He wears a metal suit. He has a hammer. Um, like I say, I don't know a lot about Superman. I know bits of here. You had hell. I prefer Crypto the Superdog more than I do Superman. Um, I do rather enjoy Superboy. He's very good. He's the clone of Superman. He seems to got a chip on his shoulder, and so on. Um, if you've, I will say that my favourite Superman series to read is The Death of Superman. Um, I think it's probably the first time they've ever killed off a major character like that. Marvel certainly hadn't done anything like that before, and ever since both Marvel and DC, whenever they've done something like whether they killed off Batman and DC, or whether Marvel's killed off, say, Wolverine or Spider-Man, it's it's been a big thing, but it's not been as big as the Death of Superman. I It was probably the first time I ever enjoyed anything like that, and I I was hooked for probably the first time for a Superman comic, not something that I can just read and go, okay, that's good, and put it down, and move back to Marvel and enjoy reading a lot of that stuff. Um, but yeah, it was like the whole Death Superman. I think the spin off from that was Funeral for a Friend or something like that, which was generally like a world without Superman, and then obviously the Return of Superman. We had Cyborg Superman, the Man of Steel, Superboy, and so on. So yeah, but I've always gone back to Marvel, and it's always been my go-to. Now, for other people, for my friends and various people I've met over the years, they've gone, oh yeah, but DC is better. Apart from one or two heroes, it's generally not. Um, they have a good thing with villains, with Batman, but generally, I'm a Marvel guy. I find the Marvel teams are better. The Marvel characters themselves are more relatable. Um, and as say, if you disagree with me, drop a comment. Let me know. If you think, well, have you read this DC series? This is good. Let me know the series. I will read it. I'll give it a chance. Um, but but for me, it's always going to be X-Men, New Avengers, definitely Spider-Man, Wolverine, um, anything Marvel really. And I mean, I even subscribe to Marvel Unlimited to get my fix for the Marvel comics. But sadly, over here, unless you go to something like Comixology, there really isn't like a DC subscription service over here. The only way to really get a subscription for DC Comics would be to go physical copies, physical print, and probably somewhere like Nostalgia Comics, Forbidden Planet, and that's going to be pricey. That's going to eventually, if you only read one or two series, fine. But if you like me and you like to read the near enough the entirety of what they do, um, then you'll be disappointed, and it literally will cost you a lot of money. Um, for DC, I generally have to find other means to read their comics. Hopefully soon, one day soon, they'll do a subscription thing over here, similar to the Marvel Unlimited, and I'll be able to read more of their comics. But yeah, so for over here in the UK, Marvel Unlimited is, I think it's like 6 months or something like that behind US print, and then it's 6 months ahead of, I think, the European UK print that you get in like the Panini comics that they do over here. which I think this is like a a sub company of Marvel, and um, is generally you get literally get anything. You get old comics uploaded as well as new comics every Monday. You get a load of new comics. It's generally why Monday is my favorite. It seems to be my favorite day. I get to read a load of new comics. But back to the main thing of Marvel versus DC. Um, so yeah, Marvel for me always going to be the superior brand. Um, DC I do like, by Batman and his villains. They always seem to come up short. For the movies, I generally think that Marvel seems to have the toehold. They seem to have the main presence. I know you had the Dark Knight trilogy, which was quite good for a DC movie, but I still preferred personally. I still preferred what Marvel was doing, um, and what like say like Fox or Universal did with like X Men and the Hulk. Um, TV show wise, I sadly I am gonna have to hand it to DC, where it's an animated show. DC's done quite well with stuff that's more aimed at kids with the animated stuff. Um, Justice League, Teen Titans. Um, you also have stuff um, like the main live action stuff. So you got your Arrowverse, Arrow, Flash, Supergirl. They did quite well. Like, was it maybe late 90s, 2000 era where you had Smallville or whenever it was done. Early 90s you had uh, Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman, which was a good watch. Marvel didn't really have much of a presence. They've had bits here and there, like you had the Netflix shows with like uh, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist, the Defender stuff that they did. We've had a few X-Men related stuff, such as the Gifted and Legion. We even had the Runaways, um, but mainly DC seems to do better when it comes to TV shows. Again, if you disagree and you say no because Marvel had this and Marvel had that, leave a comment. Let me know. Let everybody else know what your opinion is. What you think. Uh, but for generally, me personally, it's always going to be Marvel. I mean, I've got friends who are big Superman fans, and they will tell you literally, nah, Superman's brilliant. He he's got so many powers and stuff like that. I generally think Superman's overrated. Uh, he's good, but he's just not that good. I don't find him relatable at all, and it's most of the DC characters I don't find relatable. Now, for those that say, "Oh, comics in general aren't relatable," that they can't relate to real life, um, I'm definitely gonna have to disagree with that. With DC, they touched on topics such as drug abuse. With the Green Arrow, his sidekick getting addicted to drugs, and so on. I think that was what, maybe 90s, 80s. Not too sure. If you know, let me know by comment, and I can check it out. Marvel have touched on stuff like sexual abuse and stuff like that, with like the Black Cat and stuff that they did. And what I do like both Marvel and DC have done, and other comic book companies, is when they do stuff like that, they do tend to leave like contact numbers that you can get hold of. Do you have issues, stuff like that, that you can literally just contact them, say, oh, contact the various companies that can help with like mental health issues and stuff like that. That can generally help you. Um, most other media out there don't ever seem to do that really much when it comes to like movies and TV shows and stuff like that. Um, but comic books do, and I think that's brilliant. But I will say DC seem to have a darker tone. Um, but again, that's probably because I want a lighter tone. I want something that I find more enjoyable, which is going to be the Marvel comics. Um, and I would love to see um, Marvel versus DC in the comics again. Um, as you know, for those that know, we had a comic done, which was Marvel vs DC, which led lead to some solo stuff under Amalgam, which was like a company between the two, where you had the merged superheroes and stuff like that, such as Darkclaw, which is a merging of Wolverine and Batman. And but yeah, over the years we have had a couple of things like the Avengers versus the Justice League. I want to see more of that. It would be fun. It would be genuinely entertaining for the fans. Everyone's always going to have their like Superman's better than the Hulk, or for those more recent, we have our own version of Superman in the Marvel comics. There is the Century. I'm not a big fan of him, but I'm not a big fan of Superman in the DC comics. Um, so I think that's pretty much going to be it for me on this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've been able to keep up with me, my ramblings, going back and forth. As I said earlier in the video, uh, you can find this video on Sanctuary of Geeks. Embrace the geek within, and please subscribe. It will also be uploaded on Facebook and Instagram, and hopefully I will do more. This isn't. I'm not comfortable usually doing stuff like this, but I think I'll leave it there. I hope to see you all soon. I hope you're all doing well. Don't text and drive. Be nice to each other. Enjoy.